What if a determined dad, racing home to stop an HOA from towing his late grandfather's beloved 1978 Winnebago RV off their century-old family farm, uncovered a criminal towing scam that had illegally seized dozens of heirlooms across 3 counties? Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss stories like this. The tow truck's lights flashed in my rearview mirror as I raced down our dusty driveway, my heart pounding against my ribs. Someone was trying to steal my family's RV right off our own land. I've lived on this 15-acre farm my whole life. My great-grandfather built this place with his bare hands in 1932, long before fancy houses and nosy neighbors showed up. Our vintage 1978 Winnebago, the one my grandpa drove us to Yellowstone in when I was 8, sat in the same spot for over 30 years. Nobody ever complained until now. "Dad, hurry!" My daughter Lily's voice cracked with panic from the passenger seat. "They can't take Grandpa's RV. We were going to camp in it this weekend." I skidded to a stop and jumped out, dirt flying under my boots. The tow truck operator, a skinny guy with a patchy beard, already had chains wrapped around the RV's front axle. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I shouted, running toward him. "That's my property you're touching." The man barely looked up. "Just doing my job, sir. Got orders to remove this vehicle." "Orders from who?" I demanded, stepping between him and the Winnebago. "This is private property. My family's owned this land for 4 generations." He pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. "Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association says here you got 3 notices already." I snatched the paper from his hand. Sure enough, it had my name and address at the top, with a list of violations I'd never seen before. The signature at the bottom made my blood boil. Evelyn Montgomery, HOA President. This is crazy. My farm isn't part of any HOA. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the sheriff." The tow operator shrugged. "Suit yourself, but I got proper papers. You can take it up with the HOA while your RV sits in our impound lot. That'll be $200 a day, plus the $500 towing fee." Just then, another car pulled up, a shiny white Mercedes with Willow Creek Estates custom plates. Out stepped Evelyn Montgomery herself, dressed like she was heading to a business meeting instead of a dusty farm. Her perfectly styled hair didn't move in the breeze, and her red-painted lips formed a smile that never reached her eyes. "Mr. Turner," she said sweetly, clicking across my gravel in high heels, "I see you've finally been forced to address our concerns." "What concerns? And since when does your HOA have any say over my family's farm?" I stood my ground, feeling my face flush with anger. "Perhaps you should have read the notices we've been leaving," Evelyn said, pushing designer sunglasses up her nose. "Your property may have once been separate, but your access road was incorporated into our jurisdiction during last year's expansion." The board voted unanimously. Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Dad, they can't just take Grandpa's RV, can they?" "No, honey, they can't," I assured her, though doubt crept into my mind. Something wasn't right. My neighbor Diane Wilson must have seen the commotion. She hurried across the road, still wearing gardening gloves. "James, don't let them take anything. They tried the same thing with my husband's boat last week." Evelyn's plastic smile hardened. "Mrs. Wilson, your property is also in violation. We'll be addressing that next." "We never joined your HOA," Diane fired back. "You can't just decide our farms are suddenly part of your fancy neighborhood." I turned to the tow truck driver. "Look, there's clearly a misunderstanding. This is private property, and I never signed anything agreeing to HOA rules. You need to unhook my RV right now." The man hesitated, looking at Evelyn for direction. "The paperwork is in order," Evelyn insisted. "The RV is an eyesore visible from our community entrance. It affects property values for all 35 homes in our development." I pulled out my phone again. "I'm calling Sheriff Mercer. He's known my family for decades. Let's see what he has to say about this." Evelyn's confidence wavered for just a moment. "Fine, we'll pause today. But you have 72 hours to move that monstrosity out of sight, or we'll be back with proper enforcement." "Proper enforcement?" I echoed. "This isn't your property. Check the county records." She replied smoothly, handing me an official-looking document with gold seals. Section 5, paragraph 3, clearly outlines the new boundaries. As the tow operator reluctantly removed his chains from my RV, Evelyn leaned closer. "3 days, Mr. Turner. And while you're at it, you might want to address the peeling paint on your barn and those unsightly farm implements. There are children in our community now. We have standards to maintain." With that, she strutted back to her Mercedes, leaving me standing in my own driveway clutching paperwork I didn't understand, and making promises to my daughter I wasn't sure I could keep. "Dad?" Lily looked up at me with watery eyes. "We're not going to lose Grandpa's RV, are we?" I hugged her shoulders. "Not if I have anything to say about it." As Evelyn and the tow truck drove away, Diane stepped closer. "James, this isn't random. Robert Johnson's tractor disappeared yesterday. Maria Gonzalez found her boat gone this morning. Something bigger is happening here." I stared at the dust settling on the driveway. The RV was safe for now, but time was running out. How could land that had been in my family for almost 100 years suddenly fall under the control of a neighborhood that didn't even exist 3 years ago? And what would they try to take from us next? "Dad! Dad, wake up! They're back!" Lily shook me awake, her voice high with panic. Through our kitchen window, I spotted 3 unfamiliar cars parked at the edge of my property. Dawn hadn't even broken yet. I jumped out of bed and rushed outside in my pajamas, not bothering with shoes. The cool morning grass tickled my feet as I ran toward our beloved Winnebago. My blood turned cold when I saw Evelyn Montgomery standing there with 2 men in suits and another from the towing company. "What's going on?" I demanded, stepping between them and Grandpa's RV. "It hasn't been 72 hours." Evelyn checked her expensive watch with exaggerated care. "It's been exactly 73 hours and 12 minutes since our last conversation, Mr. Turner. We've been more than patient." One of the men extended his hand. "Thomas Reynolds, Willow Creek Estates legal counsel. I'm afraid your time to comply has expired." I ignored his outstretched hand. "This is ridiculous. I've spent the last 3 days researching county records. There's nothing showing my property was incorporated into your development." "Perhaps you didn't look in the right places," Evelyn replied with a smug smile. She handed me another official-looking document. "This amendment was filed 6 months ago. Your access road crosses what is now HOA property, which means you're subject to our covenants." I scanned the paper quickly. The legal language was confusing, but I could see a map with a thin strip of my driveway highlighted in yellow. "This is crazy," I said. "You can't claim jurisdiction over someone's entire farm because of a shared driveway." The second suit stepped forward. "I'm David Carmichael from the county zoning office. I'm here to confirm that the HOA's claim is technically correct. The easement agreement your grandfather signed in 1976 allows for this interpretation." My stomach dropped. Grandpa had told me about letting the neighboring farm use our driveway decades ago. Could that old agreement have somehow given the HOA power over our property? The tow truck driver, a different one from before, started moving toward the RV. "Stop right there!" I shouted, feeling my face grow hot. "I haven't even had time to review these documents. You can't just show up at sunrise and start taking my property." By now, Lily had come outside too, still in her pajamas with her stuffed bear clutched to her chest. "Daddy, what's happening? Why do they want Grandpa's RV so bad?" Evelyn's expression soured as she looked at my daughter. "This isn't personal, child. Rules exist for a reason. That old rusty thing is visible from 3 different homes in our community." I put my arm around Lily's shoulders. "Go inside and call Diane for me, honey. Then get dressed for school." Once Lily was out of earshot, I stepped closer to Evelyn. "Listen to me carefully. That RV has sentimental value to my family. My grandfather passed away last year, and it's one of the few things we have left of him. My daughter and I were planning to fix it up this summer. For just a moment, something like understanding flickered across Evelyn's face. Then it vanished, replaced by cold determination. Sentimentality doesn't increase property values, Mr. Turner, she said flatly. Our homeowners paid good money for their views. They didn't pay to look at your family museum. The lawyer cleared his throat. There are options, of course. You could build a garage to store the vehicle or place it behind your barn, where it's not visible from the road. Or, Evelyn added with a predatory smile, you could consider selling this land altogether. I happen to know several developers who'd pay top dollar, even with all these rustic structures. Suddenly everything clicked into place. This isn't about an RV at all, I said slowly. This is about forcing us out. You want our land for more of your cookie-cutter houses. Thomas Reynolds adjusted his tie uncomfortably. The man from the zoning office looked away. Evelyn's smile didn't waver. Business is business, Mr. Turner. Willow Creek Estates Phase 3 has to go somewhere. This area has been rezoned for residential development. Without notifying the current residents, I challenged. Notices were published in the county register, the zoning official mumbled, as required by law. Diane's truck came flying down the road, kicking up dust as she skidded to a stop. Robert Johnson's pickup was right behind her, along with 3 other neighbors I recognized. Hold up right there, Diane shouted, marching toward us with a folder clutched in her hand. James, I brought those papers we discussed. I had no idea what papers she meant, but the look in her eyes told me to play along. Thank you, Diane, I said, taking the folder. I opened it to find newspaper clippings, maps, and what looked like legal documents. Diane turned to the officials. We've been doing our homework, too. The easement agreement from 1976 specifically prohibits using the shared access for future development without written consent of all property owners. No one got our consent. Robert stepped forward, his weathered face serious under his cap. And we've got signed statements from every original homeowner in Willow Creek saying they were never informed that their HOA fees would be used to try to force out neighboring farms. Evelyn's confident demeanor cracked slightly. Those internal matters are none of your concern. They are when you're using those funds to hire lawyers and tow trucks to harass us, I countered. The tow operator shifted uncomfortably. Look, I'm just here to do a job. If there's a dispute about jurisdiction, maybe we should wait. There's no dispute, Evelyn snapped. The paperwork is in order. Do your job. As the man reluctantly moved toward his truck, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up with lights flashing. Sheriff Mercer stepped out, his familiar figure a welcome sight. Morning, folks. Got a call about a property dispute. Evelyn straightened her jacket. Sheriff, we have all the necessary documentation. I'm sure you do, ma'am, the sheriff interrupted. But I received some interesting information last night from the county clerk's office. Seems there might be some irregularities with those recently filed amendments. He turned to me with a meaningful look. Mr. Turner, did you or any member of your family sign an agreement with Willow Creek Estates in the last year? Absolutely not, I stated firmly. That's what I thought. Sheriff Mercer faced Evelyn and her team. In that case, I'm going to have to ask everyone to stand down until we sort this out. No vehicles will be towed from this property today. Evelyn's face flushed with anger. This is outrageous. We have rights. So do these folks, the sheriff replied calmly. Rights that go back generations on this land. As the tow operator closed his truck door with obvious relief, I noticed a small crowd gathering at the edge of my property. Homeowners from Willow Creek Estates watching the confrontation. What's really going on here, Evelyn? Asked a woman in running clothes. You told us the HOA fees were going up to improve the playground, not to harass farmers. More residents muttered in agreement. Evelyn's perfect composure crumbled as she realized she was losing control of the situation. This isn't over, she hissed at me before turning on her heel. Sheriff Mercer touched my shoulder. "James, you might want to come down to the station later. There's something you should see about those zoning changes. And bring your neighbors." As the unwelcome visitors retreated to their vehicles, I noticed Lily watching from the porch, a tentative smile on her face. "Is Grandpa's RV safe now?" she called. "For today," I answered, suddenly aware that this battle was far from over. "But I think we need to find out what's really happening in Willow Creek Estates." What I didn't tell her was the unsettling feeling in my gut. If Evelyn Montgomery was willing to go to these lengths over an RV, what else might she do to get what she wanted? I spent the whole night staring at old property maps spread across my kitchen table. Yellow lines marked the boundaries my great-grandfather had drawn when he first bought this land in Phoebe Dordy, 1923. The HOA couldn't just grab my access road. It didn't make sense. The next morning, I called my friend Sam, who practiced law in the next county. "Don't touch that RV," he warned after I explained everything. "This smells like a scam. I'll check the county records this afternoon and call you back." I felt a little better as I headed to work at the hardware store. Dad had always said problems look smaller in daylight, but a weird feeling stuck in my stomach all day. At lunch, I noticed 3 missed calls from Lily's school. When I called back, the secretary said Evelyn Montgomery had tried to pick her up for a family emergency. Luckily, Lily wasn't on Evelyn's approved list, so the school called me instead. My blood ran cold. What kind of person would try to scare a child? I left work early, driving way too fast down country roads, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. As I turned onto our long driveway, something seemed wrong. The familiar outline of Grandpa's Winnebago was missing from its spot near the barn. For 30 years, that RV had sat in exactly the same place, its faded orange stripe catching the afternoon light. But now, nothing. Just flattened grass where it had been. Lily ran from the house, her backpack still on. The school bus must have just dropped her off. "Dad, someone took Grandpa's RV." Her eyes were red from crying. "Mrs. Patel next door said a tow truck came. I was going to camp in it this weekend." I hugged her tight, trying to hide how angry I felt. "It's okay, sweetie. We'll figure this out." My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. "County has no record of any boundary changes. Something's definitely wrong." I called the police right away. Officer Martinez arrived 20 minutes later, his patrol car kicking up dust as it rolled down our drive. He was young but took careful notes as I explained the situation. "So you believe the HOA had your recreational vehicle towed from your private property?" he asked, looking up from his notepad. "Yes, they left me this warning." I handed him the orange notice. "But my land isn't part of their development." "Never has been." Officer Martinez walked over to examine the spot where the RV had been parked. "No signs of forced entry. Looks like a professional tow job." He snapped a few pictures with his phone. "Any security cameras out here?" I shook my head. "Never needed them before." Just then, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered and put it on speaker. "Looking for something, Mr. Turner?" Evelyn's voice dripped with fake sweetness. "Your eyesore has been impounded. The fee is $200 per day, plus a $500 removal charge. The clock is ticking." "You stole my property," I said, trying to stay calm for Lily's sake. "That RV belongs to my family." "We didn't steal anything," Evelyn replied. "We enforce community standards as outlined in Section 8 of the bylaws. Perhaps, if you attended meetings, you'd understand how things work in Willow Creek." "I don't live in Willow Creek," I said through gritted teeth. "My family has owned this farm for 100 years. Check your facts." "Mr. Turner, your access road was incorporated last spring. The board voted unanimously." Officer Martinez motioned for me to keep her talking. He was recording the conversation on his own phone now. "Where's the RV now?" I asked. "Safe at Precision Towing. Every day you argue instead of paying the fine, the price goes up." "I'd hurry if I were you." She hung up. Officer Martinez tucked his phone away. Sir, I'd recommend you not pay anything yet. This sounds suspicious. I'll file a report and check with the county office myself. After he left, I found Lily sitting in Grandpa's old rocking chair on the porch, hugging her knees. Are we going to get the RV back? She asked in a small voice. Yes, I promised, sitting beside her. Nobody's taking what belongs to us. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Grandpa teaching me to fish from the RV's fold-down steps, about Dad fixing its engine while I handed him tools, about Lily's birthday party last year when rain forced us all inside the Winnebago, laughing as we squished together. That RV wasn't just metal and rubber. It was memories, and nobody had the right to tow away memories. I got up and drove to Precision Towing at midnight. The lot was surrounded by a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Through the fence, I could see Grandpa's Winnebago sitting under harsh floodlights, looking lost among junk cars and fancy sports cars with boot clamps. A guard dog barked as I approached, so I backed away. When I got home, a new envelope waited in my mailbox. Inside was a bill for $700 and a photo of my barn with a big red X through it. Scrolled across the bottom. Unauthorized agricultural structure. Removal scheduled for Friday. These people weren't just after my RV. They wanted my land. I shot straight up in bed when someone pounded on my front door at 6 a.m. My first thought was that they'd come for my barn already. I grabbed my grandfather's old baseball bat from the closet and crept downstairs. Through the peephole, I saw Robert Johnson, my neighbor who ran the apple orchard next door. His face was red, and his truck was parked crooked in my driveway like he'd stopped in a hurry. "They got my tractor," Robert blurted the second I opened the door. He was still wearing pajama pants tucked into mud-caked boots. My 1957 John Deere, been in my family longer than their stupid neighborhood has existed. I pulled him inside and poured coffee while he paced around my kitchen. "Same people?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Precision Towing. Left me the same orange notice you got." He slammed his fist on the counter. "That tractor isn't even visible from their precious entrance. It was behind my barn." My phone rang. It was Maria Gonzalez from the lavender farm down the road. "James, did you hear about Robert's tractor? They took my boat, too, right off my own property." Within an hour, my kitchen was packed with neighbors. 5 families living along the edge of Willow Creek had lost something. Robert's tractor, Maria's boat, Tom Williams's classic Mustang, the Patel's camping trailer, and my RV, Mrs. Patel, brought fresh samosas that steamed on my kitchen table. "Evelyn came to our house personally," she said, her voice shaking. "She told us good neighbors don't keep junk on their property. My husband's family camped in that trailer for 40 years. Tom Williams, a retired history teacher, spread out a county map on my table. "Look here," he pointed to the boundaries of Willow Creek Estates. "Notice anything strange?" We all leaned in. The HOA boundaries on his map were nothing like what Evelyn had shown me. "This is the official county planning map," Tom explained, "updated last month. Our properties aren't anywhere near their jurisdiction. Never have been." "Then how are they getting away with this?" Maria asked. Robert's wife Jenny worked at the bank in town. She'd been quiet until now. "Follow the money," she said softly. "Evelyn's husband Stanley owns Precision Towing, and his brother sits on the county zoning board." Tom added, "I taught him in high school, not the brightest bulb." Maria pulled out her phone and showed us a real estate listing. "Look at this. Coming soon. Willow Creek Estates Phase 3, luxury homes with country views. The map shows new houses where our farms are now." My stomach filled with dread. This isn't about an old RV or tractor. They're trying to force us out so they can buy our land cheap or take it through fines and liens. Tom said grimly, "If we can't pay their made-up penalties, they can put liens on our properties. Wait long enough, force a tax sale." Lily came downstairs, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Seeing all the neighbors, She froze on the steps. "Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetie," I lied. "Grown-up stuff. Why don't you go to the Patels and play with Arjun for a while?" After she left, we got down to business. Robert knew a lawyer in the city who specialized in property disputes. The Patels had a cousin who worked at the local news station. Tom had taught half the county officials and still had their respect. "We need proof," Jenny said. "Records of where our things were taken, who ordered it, and where the money goes." "I have the phone call with Evelyn," I told them. "Officer Martinez recorded it yesterday." Maria looked up from her phone. "My brother-in-law works at the county records office. He says there's no legal filing showing any boundary changes for Willow Creek. Whatever document Evelyn showed you was fake." As we made plans, a police cruiser pulled into my driveway. Officer Martinez stepped out, but he wasn't alone. A tall woman in a dark suit followed him to my door. "Mr. Turner," Officer Martinez said when I answered, "this is Detective Reynolds from the county sheriff's office. We need to talk." I invited them in, introducing them to my neighbors. Detective Reynolds surveyed the kitchen full of angry faces and nodded. "Looks like you've all figured out something's wrong," she said, declining my offer of coffee. "I've been investigating precision towing and certain members of the Willow Creek HOA for 6 months." My neighbors and I exchanged looks. 6 months? "They've been pulling this same scam in 3 different counties," Detective Reynolds continued, spreading photos across my table. "They target properties along the edges of developments, claim jurisdiction through falsified documents, then tow your stuff and charge outrageous fees." "Why haven't you stopped them?" Robert demanded. "Because until now, victims either paid up or moved away," she explained. "We needed someone to press charges, to fight back." Tom Williams adjusted his glasses to examine the photos. "These are all precision towing trucks, and that's Stanley Montgomery right there directing them." Detective Reynolds nodded. "Stanley runs the towing operation. Evelyn handles the HOA side. Their friend on the zoning board pushes through quick rezoning once people sell under pressure." "And the luxury homes go up," Jenny finished. "Exactly." Detective Reynolds pulled out her notebook. "With multiple complaints now, we can build a case. But we need evidence of them actually ordering illegal tows on properties outside their jurisdiction." Maria leaned forward. "We can help with that. They don't know we're all talking to each other now." Officer Martinez, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "There's something else you should know, Mr. Turner. When I ran the plates on Evelyn Montgomery's car yesterday, I found multiple complaints against her for harassment and intimidation. And there's a pending investigation into how she became HOA president in the first place. The previous president resigned suddenly after his dog disappeared." A chill went through the room. These people weren't just greedy, they were dangerous. "I've asked for extra patrols past your properties," Detective Reynolds said. "In the meantime, document everything. No confrontations." As they prepared to leave, Detective Reynolds paused at my door. "One more thing. We've had a surveillance operation on precision towing for weeks, including cameras near your property lines." "You've been watching us?" Tom asked, shocked. "Not you, them." She handed me her card. "Call me directly if they make any more moves, day or night." After they left, my neighbors and I looked at each other with new determination. We weren't just fighting for our possessions anymore. We were fighting for our homes, our land, and our community. "I have a plan," I said finally. "But it's going to take all of us working together." Robert clapped me on the shoulder. "I'm in. Nobody messes with our families and gets away with it." One by one, my neighbors nodded in agreement. The HOA thought they could pick us off one by one. They had no idea what was coming. "We need to talk, inside," Detective Reynolds whispered, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to be watching us too. Those words sent chills down my spine. My kitchen suddenly felt too small with Officer Martinez, Detective Reynolds, and my nervous neighbors crowded around. The detective pulled out a worn leather briefcase and clicked it open. Inside were dozens of photographs that she spread across my oak table, the same table where my family had shared meals for generations. "What you're about to see stays in this room," she said, her voice dead serious. The photos showed Evelyn meeting with men in expensive suits, signing papers in parking lots, and handing over what looked like cash in envelopes. There were shots of tow trucks moving in the middle of the night, taking boats, tractors, and RVs from properties just like mine. "We've been monitoring Evelyn Montgomery and Precision Towing for 6 months now," Reynolds explained, pointing to timestamps on the photos. "They've hit over 40 properties across 3 counties, always the same pattern. They claim your land falls under their rules through some loophole or paperwork trick, then tow your stuff and charge crazy fees," Maria gasped, grabbing one photo. "That's my cousin's fishing boat. They took it last month." "That's exactly right," Officer Martinez nodded. "Your cousin paid $1,800 to get it back rather than fight them." My blood boiled. "If you know all this, why haven't you arrested them already? Why did they get away with taking my family's RV?" Detective Reynolds sighed deeply, rubbing her tired eyes. "2 reasons. First, we needed someone willing to press charges. Most victims just pay up or move away, too scared or too broke to fight back. Second, we need solid proof of them giving direct orders for illegal towing, catching them in the act." She pulled out another folder, this one filled with maps and diagrams. I recognized my property immediately. "Your farm is special, Mr. Turner. It sits at the edge of what Evelyn calls Phase 3 of their development plan." She laid down a document with Willow Creek Estates letterhead. "This is their 5-year expansion proposal. They want your land, the orchard next door, and about 5 other properties." Robert slammed his fist on the table. "They can't just take our land." "No, but they can make owning it so miserable that you'll want to sell," Reynolds replied. "And that's exactly what they've been doing." She reached into her pocket and pulled out something small. At first I thought it was a toy bird, but looking closer I realized it was a tiny camera disguised as a chickadee. "We've had these placed along your property line for 3 weeks now." My jaw dropped. "You've been spying on my land without telling me?" "We had a warrant." Officer Martinez jumped in quickly, sliding a folded paper my way. "After the first complaints came in from Willow Creek border properties, Judge Harmon approved limited surveillance, but we haven't caught them giving explicit orders yet." I studied the warrant, emotions battling inside me, anger at the invasion of my privacy mixing with hope that these officers might actually help us. "There's more," Detective Reynolds continued, lowering her voice. "We believe Evelyn's husband doesn't just own Precision Towing, he's also partnered with DevCorp, the company buying up all the foreclosed properties around here." Maria nodded vigorously. "My brother works construction. DevCorp is planning a huge shopping center where our homes stand. They've been trying to buy us out for years." The detective clicked open her phone, showing us a banking app. "This is a dummy account we created to track money movement. Every time Precision Towing charges someone from around here, a percentage flows to this shell company, Willow Investments." "Guess who owns Willow Investments?" "Evelyn," we all said together. "And 3 members of the Willow Creek HOA board," she added. My mind raced, connecting dots I should have seen before. The constant harassment about my fence height last year, the noise complaints when I harvested corn at dawn, the sudden interest in my grandfather's RV. It wasn't random. It was targeted. "Why are you telling us all this now?" I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. "What do you want from us?" Detective Reynolds gathered the photos slowly, her face grim. "Because they're escalating. Last month, a farmer in Glendale County who refused to pay their fees had his barn mysteriously burned down. We can't prove it was them, but—" A heavy silence fell over the kitchen. "We need your help," Officer Martinez finally said. We need you to let us set a trap. Robert leaned forward. What kind of trap? Reynolds smiled for the first time. The kind where they think they're getting exactly what they want. My phone buzzed with a text. Looking down, I saw it was from Evelyn. Thinking about your situation. We might be able to work something out if you're willing to discuss selling. Meeting tomorrow at my office, 9:01 a.m. I showed the others my phone, my heart racing. Perfect timing, Detective Reynolds said, her eyes lighting up. This is our chance. But you need to know, if you help us, things might get worse before they get better. These people play dirty. I thought about my daughter's tears when the RV disappeared, about my grandfather who built this farm with his bare hands, about my neighbors losing their homes to greedy developers. What exactly do you need us to do? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Detective Reynolds pulled out a small recording device and slid it across the table toward me. With this, tomorrow, get her to admit what they're doing. And then I couldn't sleep a wink. The tiny recording device Detective Reynolds gave me sat on my nightstand, looking more dangerous than any farm tool I'd ever owned. My 9:00 meeting with Evelyn loomed ahead like a storm cloud. Lily peeked into my room at dawn, her small face worried. Dad, are we going to get Grandpa's RV back? We sure are going to try, sweetheart, I promised, giving her a hug that I needed more than she did. After dropping Lily at school, I drove to Evelyn's office in the Willow Creek Community Center. The pristine building with its fancy water features seemed to mock the struggling farms around it. Inside, Evelyn waited behind a massive desk, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. James, thank you for coming, she said with a smile that never touched her eyes. The recording device felt heavy in my shirt pocket. Coffee? No thanks, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Your text mentioned working something out. Evelyn folded her manicured hands. I think we got off on the wrong foot. The HOA doesn't want to be unreasonable. Taking my family's RV without permission seemed pretty unreasonable, I countered. She waved her hand dismissively. Rules are rules. But I've been thinking, your situation is unique. She pulled out a folder. I have an offer that might interest you. Inside was a purchase agreement for my farm, at half its market value. You want me to sell my family's land for this pitiful amount? The anger in my voice wasn't faked. Evelyn's fake smile vanished. Let's be practical, James. Farming is a dying business. You're surrounded by progress. She leaned forward. And let's be honest, the fines are adding up. $500 a day for the RV storage, plus the new violation for that eyesore pickup truck on your property. That's my neighbor's truck. He's just visiting, I protested. Visiting for 3 days with expired tags? Her eyebrow arched. That's another violation. At this rate, you'll owe more than your land is worth by summer. I tried to look defeated. This feels like harassment. No, James, this is business, she replied coldly. Willow Creek is expanding. Phase 3 development starts this fall. Your land is going to be part of it, whether you sell to us now or we foreclose on you later for unpaid fines. There it was, the admission we needed. I prayed the device was picking up every word. And if I refuse? I asked. Evelyn's smile returned, sharper than before. Things can get difficult. Ask the Johnsons from Glendale County. Such a shame about their barn fire last month. My blood ran cold. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you on the realities of progress, she said smoothly. The choice is yours. Take our offer now, or watch everything you own get towed away piece by piece until you have nothing left. I stood up, hands shaking with real anger. I need time to think. You have until Friday, she called as I walked out. After that, the offer drops by $10,000 each week. Outside, I texted Detective Reynolds. Got it. She threatened me and mentioned the barn fire. His reply came instantly. Perfect. Phase 2 tonight. Make sure Robert brings his truck back. That evening, our plan kicked into high gear. Robert parked his restored 1965 Ford pickup, his pride and joy, right in my front yard, visible from the road. We made sure Evelyn's neighborhood spies noticed by having Robert rev the engine repeatedly. "You sure about this?" Robert asked nervously, polishing a spot on his truck's cherry-red door. "This truck's been in my family since new." "We'll protect it," I promised, though my stomach twisted with worry. Detective Reynolds arrived in an unmarked van as dusk fell. 4 officers dressed as farmhands helped unload equipment into my barn: directional microphones, night vision, and backup in the woods. "We've alerted Judge Harmon. She's standing by to issue arrest warrants the moment we have evidence," Reynolds explained, pointing to spots on a map of my property. Officer Martinez handed out small earpieces. "Everyone stays in constant contact. If Evelyn shows up herself, even better. But we're mainly after the tow truck operators, catching them in the act." As night deepened, we took our positions. Maria and I watched from my darkened living room. Robert hid in my basement with a clear view of his beloved truck. The police officers concealed themselves in the barn and behind the old oak tree line. Minutes stretched into hours. My eyelids grew heavy as midnight approached. Then Maria grabbed my arm. Headlights coming slow, with lights off. My heart hammered as I peered through binoculars. 2 tow trucks from Precision Towing crept down my long driveway, running dark. Behind them, a black SUV followed, Evelyn's vehicle. "They took the bait," I whispered into my mic. "All 3 targets approaching." "Hold positions," Reynolds's voice crackled in my ear. "Let them hook up first." Through the night vision binoculars, I watched the tow operators work with practiced efficiency. They spoke briefly with Evelyn, who stayed in her SUV, pointing imperiously at Robert's truck. "She's giving direct orders," I reported. "Recording everything," came the reply. The first cable connected to Robert's truck with a metallic clink. The operator began winching it up. "Taking it!" Robert's panicked voice came through. "Wait for my signal," Reynolds commanded. The truck lifted higher. The second tow vehicle moved toward my tractor now. "Now!" Reynolds shouted. Suddenly, powerful floodlights blazed from all directions, turning night into day. Robert's truck dropped back to the ground with a bounce as the startled operator released the controls. "Police, hands where we can see them." Officers emerged from every direction, weapons drawn. The look on the tow truck drivers' faces was priceless. One made a break for the trees, but didn't get far before Martinez tackled him to the ground. The other froze, hands high. But it was Evelyn's reaction that I'll never forget. She tried to reverse her SUV, tires spinning in the mud, only to find police cruisers blocking her escape. When officers approached her window, she pretended to be shocked. "I'm just checking on a resident complaint," she protested as they ordered her from the vehicle. "Do you know who I am?" "I'm the HOA president." "We know exactly who you are, Mrs. Montgomery," Detective Reynolds said, snapping handcuffs on her wrists. "And we have everything on tape." From their vehicles, officers recovered a stack of pre-printed towing authorizations with forged signatures, including mine. Under the seat of Evelyn's SUV, they found a ledger tracking all their illegal tows and the profits from each one. As they led Evelyn toward a police car, she looked at me with hatred burning in her eyes. "You set me up. This isn't over." I stepped forward, feeling stronger than I had in weeks. "Actually, Evelyn, it is over. And I'll be getting my grandfather's RV back tomorrow, free of charge." As the police cars drove away with their lights flashing, my neighbors emerged from their hiding spots. Robert ran to check his truck while Maria hugged me tightly. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." But Detective Reynolds looked more serious than celebratory. "This is just the beginning," he warned, watching the taillights disappear down my driveway. "Tomorrow we go after her husband and the board members. And trust me, they won't go down without a fight." Breaking news. Local HOA president caught in illegal towing scheme. The reporter's voice boomed from my TV as Evelyn's mug shot flashed on screen. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Did you see her face when the handcuffs clicked? Robert laughed over the phone. I never thought I'd get my truck back and see justice on the same day. The evidence was overwhelming. Police found boxes of fake documents in Evelyn's home office. Her husband's towing company had stolen over 30 vehicles from families who didn't even belong to their HOA. "Daddy, look!" Lily pointed out our window. A flatbed truck was coming up our driveway with Grandpa's Winnebago on top. The old RV looked beat up, but fixable. The driver handed me papers. Judge ordered emergency property return. Sign here. I couldn't believe how fast everything was happening. Yesterday we were victims. Today we were heroes. That night, neighbors brought food to our house. Even people from Willow Creek Estates came over. "We had no idea what Evelyn was doing," said Mrs. Thompson, who lived inside the HOA. "We voted her out this morning and elected a new board." News. Vans lined our road. Everyone wanted to interview the farmer who took down a criminal HOA ring. Detective Reynolds pulled me aside. "This case is bigger than we thought. She's been doing this in 3 counties. You helped stop her from forcing dozens of families off their land." Later, Lily and I sat in the Winnebago with flashlights, planning our camping trip. "Is Evelyn going to jail forever?" Lily asked. "Not forever, but for a while," I said. "The important thing is, she can't hurt anyone else." I placed my grandfather's old map of national parks on the table. "Where should we go first?" Lily smiled. "Anywhere, as long as it's far from nosy neighbors who think they make the rules." Sometimes standing your ground isn't just about saving an RV. Sometimes it's about protecting what matters most. Your freedom, your family, and what's right.